Greetings and salutations and welcome to the game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashmun Street on this last Monday of November. And the Wicked Sister is the place to go for your catering needs. And so if you want your holiday Christmas party catered, just come on down and talk to Kathy, Scott, or any of the staff of the Wicked Sister, and they will hook you up. We are joined at the outset by co-host of the game and host of the Game Sports Show in Soo, Ontario, Mr. Dave McCaig. Kegger, how are you doing on this Monday after the American Thanksgiving?
I'm doing good, Scotty. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Always good to have you along, Dave. And
Thank
we're
you.
joined off the hop by our special guest, one of our two guests tonight, actually three guests on the first hour, Doug Laprade, the head coach of the Soo Eagles, joining us here. We talked to Doug before the season, and my God, we're already almost into December. Dougie, thanks for coming in and joining us on the game.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, Doug, let's talk a little bit about this weekend before we look at the team as a whole. Two games this weekend for the Soo Eagles after a couple long road trips in November. You took on the LA Lake Wildcats Friday night at Pullar Stadium, a team that you were tied with in the standings. And it was a tight game early, and then the Eagles really soared throughout the rest of the game, scoring 6 third-period goals and defeating Elliott Lake by the score of 8-0. Talk about Friday night's game, a pretty dominating performance by your squad.
Well, we went into that game knowing that we were tied, and we have a couple games in hand at the time, but that we really needed to be ready to play, and I think that we did a pretty good job of preparing, and the kids themselves did a pretty good job of preparing, and we came out, I think we played, to our potential, which, if there's any weakness in our team right now, I think it's that we're not quite there with playing to our potential right out of the gate in every game. In that particular game we were. So I was happy with the way we started. Even though it was 0-0 through the first, we were out shooting them pretty good, and my message was just basically, if we get one, we'll get, the floodgates will open, so to speak, and that they actually did. So we were happy with that result, and obviously, but more so than the result, obviously you want to win, but the way that we were ready to play and how we did play.
And you look at your last two home games, Doug, you haven't had a lot of home games here over the past few weeks, both 8-0 victories, and that's one of the things the Eagles struggled a little bit at first, losing a few games at home, getting those home wins and getting better performances at home. Obviously important for any hockey squad, considering coming up here over the next month and a half, you have a boatload of hockey games coming up. I believe 12 of 14 at home. So getting that home ice advantage, is that very important for the Eagles right now?
Well, I mean, the home ice obviously is very good. Our fan base is great. We're getting, anywhere between 500-600 and 700-800 people. So, yep. It's great to be there. Our fans are fantastic. The building gets loud, and the kids feed off of that. So, the road trips are all right too, though, as far as not necessarily playing in other buildings, but more so just getting on the road with your team and having those guys bond in hotel rooms and buses and restaurants and things like that. So it's nice to have that those road trips for those reasons, but it's also nice to have them over with and when we can get back home here and get to work.
And Dave, you were at the game at the Rhodes yesterday between the Eagles and Sioux Thunderbirds, so I'll turn over the floor to you, sir.
See, Dougie, we were talking off air. You went down early in the first period yesterday at the John Rhodes against the Sioux Thunderbirds. It was 3-0 going into the first intermission. And when you go to the game prior to that on Friday against Elliott Lake, you had over 50 shots in the game. Obviously, right. You got 6 goals in the third period. You guys came hard in that third period, obviously. Mm-hmm. You had 30 shots total against the 32, I believe was the exact number against the Thunderbirds. The philosophy, did it alter between games, or what was the difference? I know obviously a slow start in the first period really against the Thunderbirds really points out, but was there a difference you noticed in your guys between the games?
Well, yeah, definitely. When we were playing against Elliott Lake, like I said earlier, we seemed to be kind of more prepared for that game. And as a 50-year-old man, I who's played a little bit of hockey in his day, I don't understand how you can't be prepared for or ready for the first place team. They're a very, very good team. They're very well coached. They've got good skill. They've got a lot of good things going. Goaltending's fantastic, and so for me to not to look at our team and think, boy, we came out of the gate real sluggish, and we got scored on in the second shift of the game. It bewilders me. But as far as philosophy goes, no, I mean the philosophy is the same. I mean, let's get prepared, let's get going. We always want to come out of the gate strong and physical, and we just didn't do that yesterday.
See, when you go against the Thunderbirds and Elliott Lake, two different teams, obviously, and not just the standings, but on the ice from watching it. So when you play against Elliott Lake and the Thunderbirds, obviously the two different teams in the retrospectives, I find the Thunderbirds is a very strong speed team. They like to take the puck wide, and they do shoot in a lot of different areas, and they do capitalize on special teams, which I know the special teams was a little bit, in the third period hurt you guys a little bit yesterday. You guys ended up losing the game 5-1. Did the discipline hurt at all last game? Was that a factor into it? And obviously the slow start, but besides that.
Well, no, the slow start was the reason. I mean, the discipline was good. I mean, we only had 2 penalties against. We had, I think, 6 power plays and 1 power play goal. So, you got to be better on your power play. We're working on that. We were at 12-13% power play, and now we're almost an 18, or I think we're 17 point some percent now. So we're getting there. You got to be over 20% in order to have some success in any league. There's not too many. I think there's only 2 teams in our league that are over 20%. So, and our penalty killing has been fantastic. We're the number 1 penalty killing team in the league. We're almost at 90%.
Yeah, nice.
And but that team yesterday, they got great skill, and we took a 5-minute major. It was a questionable call. We talked to the league commissioner today, and he felt it was a questionable call. But it was a 5-minute major, and I'm not going to tell you that's why we lost the game, but I can tell you that was our best penalty killer that we lost for the rest of that game, and that hurt us. But at the end of the day, we were down 3-0 early, and we had more power play time than they did, and they won the game. So they scored 2 power play goals, and we scored 1. That's hockey.
Doug Laprade joining us on the game. I'm still in shock that you're 50. That kind of threw me for a loop. That means I'm halfway there, Dave. That's even more shocking, I think.
I'm only
or
27,
not
to rub anything in.
Moving on. Doug, before we get to this weekend's opponents, the league in general, I think this is probably the most competitive the NOJHL has been top to bottom. I mean, you look at the league. In the West, obviously, you have the Thunderbirds, Blind River, Rayside, you and Elliott Lake. A team like Espanola, they just knocked off Kirkland Lake, who's one of the best teams in the East. You have a team like French River that's knocked you guys off. It's just a very competitive league. No longer do you have the Manitoulins and the Doormats. Pretty much you got to show up every game this year.
Yeah. Well, we've lost to Espanola twice also.
Right.
So you go to their building, and if you're not ready to play, they'll get you. French River, you're going to see them pass a few people in that division, I think. They've got some good players, really good players. They're very offensive. They've got a good offensive system. Their defensemen are involved. And if their goaltender plays well, they're a good team. So, in my days of recruiting, the league absolutely is made huge strides compared to, that was when I was done at Lake State, probably 2014. So, in these last 4 years, this league has made huge strides. And I was having a conversation yesterday with the coach, with John of the Thunderbirds, and he made a good comment. He said something, we were talking about kids, and he said, one kid wanted to get quote unquote to the next level, the North American League, and John's comment was, well, what if we're better than that team? And he made a good point, because you know what, they are better than more teams in that league than not. They're very good. So this league is opening some eyes as far as recruiters go, and as far as the players go, and as far as us, we're young, but we need to kind of keep consistent, start off harder. Once we get going, we're pretty good, but I think we've only got outshot a couple times all year long, and but 11 and 16 is not obviously where you want to be. So
it's kind of like gone are the days where the NOJHL was looked upon as a two-way tough guy league of sorts in a good way. I remember in to bring up when I played. When I did play, it was a two-way style. We had the guys like Mike Bondi, Trent Lizzie. I'm sure you're familiar with some of the names. Bigger guys, 6'5", 250 pounds plus, that can score goals. But that's because I'm more scared of them. Period. And they beat up everybody on the ice. But now when I watched NOJHL, I find it's more of a style that maybe I would have been best suited for a lot of the guys that were average height, just pure speed, and it's all skill. Do you find that it's an offensive league in general more than it is defensive?
I find that some teams are like that and some teams aren't. So, the T-Birds are very offensively minded. They're offensive. They're fast. They've got skill. They make plays. Somebody like Elliott Lake, they can get you if you're not ready to play physical. Elliott Lake's got some good players. They've got who can shoot the puck and can make plays, but they're a bigger team. They like to hit you, and if you hit them back, we found that we have some success with them. So I think the league is top to bottom better. I really don't think, like you had mentioned earlier, there's a doormat. There's not a doormat in our league. Anybody can beat anybody. I mean, again, we lost to Kirkland Lake with our full squad up on the road, and to our defense, we had a 10-hour road trip. We had 2 accidents on the way up, so we had to get revert.
There's no side
detours,
roads.
Detours.
We had to detour back and then back around, and it took us 10 hours to get there, and it's a 7-hour trip. So we got there, we got off the bus, we warmed up, and we were done. We didn't even have a full. I think we got there an hour before the game. So hey, we lost, but at the end of the day, that they beat us. So then we go beat Elliott Lake, handily, and then Elliott Lake beats them.
Yeah.
So,
any given night, things can happen. That's like you said, that Scotty Manitoula, and when I played, or even a couple years ago, Blind River was 0-51. And won like that. They'll garner those days.
Yeah. And Blind River, we haven't seen them for a while, but when we played them, we've won 2 and lost 1 against them, and we stole 1 from them. They outshot us. That was one of the games we did get outshot, and we were in their barn, and we won 3-0, and we had no business winning that game. So, that's kind of how this league is. I mean, we can win 1, we can lose 1, and if you're not ready to play, the team that you're playing will get you. So it's a good thing.
And that's very good for the league, especially scout-wise.
Final question for you, Doug. This weekend at home for a pair Friday night against Rayside Belfour. Haven't seen them all year here. You haven't seen them for a while as well. And then taking on Espanola, a team that's played you very tough this year. Thoughts on those 2 games going into this weekend?
Well, you're right about Rayside. We played them in the first and or was it like the second and third or something like that, games of the year, first and third or whatever. So we haven't seen them for a while. We're a different team. We have 6 different players than we had at the time. So like I said, when we're on, we're good. And so my job is we practice hard today. We're going to practice hard all week. To get them prepared for that game. They're more of an Elliott Lake type team, and when I say that, I don't mean any disrespect. They're just very physical, and they've got some guys that can score, and they've got a pretty good goaltender. So, you got to match their physicality and go out and kind of take it to them a little bit. Espanola, we talked about them already. Last time we had them here, we won 7-1, I think it was, or 7-0 or whatever it was. But again, if we're not ready, if we take it for granted, they'll sting you. So, nice to have 2 home games. Nice to kind of play a couple teams in our division and kind of stay in our division here for a little bit. And I think if we're ready, we'll be okay.
So you got to get out and enjoy the Pullar burgers and
That's
the
right.
atmosphere at the Pullar. Nothing better than the NOJHL.
Friday
I can tell you
night,
right now.
7:30, Saturday night, 7. Doug Laprade, head coach of the Soo Eagles. Thanks for coming in, and we'll get you in the new year and talk more about Soo Eagles hockey.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. We'll be back with Dave McCaig and our local sports coverage coming up next on The Game here on Eagle 95.1. Welcome back to The Game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason back at the Wicked Sister on this Monday night, Monday, November 26th, and I hope you had a very happy and festive Thanksgiving weekend. Joined once again here at the Wicked Sister by Dave McCaig, host of the Game Sports Show from Sioux, Ontario. All shows you can find on thegamesportshow.com. We'll be talking Laker women's basketball coming up at 6:30, and then we'll be talking to Butch Davis from Butch On Sports at 6:45. First hour on the radio, the full 2-hour show, where we have the roundtable with Dave, myself, Butch, EJ Russell, Katie Woolen, online at thegamesportshow.com. Our broadcast engineer tonight, Dallas Miller, and joined again by Dave McCaig. And Dave, a few sports we want to talk about before we get into some of the other local notes. We're going to talk about Laker women's basketball coming up with one of their assistant coaches. The men were on the road this week and lost a couple tough games, including on Wednesday. The Laker men dropped their first game of the season, falling to Indianapolis by the score of 91-90. And then on Friday, a tough loss for the Laker men, losing to Southern Indiana 110-88. The Laker men and women will be on the road this weekend, taking on Ashland, starting with Ashland on Thursday. Laker hockey at home this weekend as the Lakers, ranked for the first time in a couple years. Well, they split with the Northern Michigan Wildcats at the Taffy Able Arena, winning on Friday night by the score of 4-2, as Gage Terrell had a pair of goals for the Laker men, and then the Lakers would fall to Northern by the score of 2-1 on Saturday. And so the Laker men 7-4-1 on the season. They have a home weekend series against a very good Minnesota State squad starting on Friday and Saturday night. Michigan High School Football Finals. We're going to talk more about some of these games with Butch Davis coming up at 6:45. We'll go through the divisions Friday and Saturday. Reading in Division 8 over Breckenridge by the score of 39-20. In Division 2, Warren De La Salle over Muskegon Mona Shores by the score of 29-16. Division 6, Jackson Lumini Christie topped Montague by the score of 42-28. And in Division 4, Edwardsburg over Chelsea 28-7. On Saturday in Division 7, New Lothrop 50, Madison Heights Madison 44. Seems like a repeat there in their name, but who am I to say? Division 1, Clinton Township Chippewa Valley edged out Clarkson by the score of 31-30. Hudson University Christian over Portland 42-7. And in Division 3, Detroit Martin Luther King over Muskegon by the score of 41-25. And one more local sports note. Yes, it's already the beginning of the high school basketball season in the Eastern Upper Peninsula, and we will have our first broadcast on Eagle 95.1. Yours truly, along with Katie Woolen, will be down in Cedarville for a key boys matchup as the Cedarville Trojans will take on the Brimley Bays. We'll have that call around 7:15 tomorrow night, a rematch of the regional final, which was won by Cedarville last year. So a brand new high school sports season starting, hard to believe, tomorrow night. Dave McCaig joining us here at the Wicked Sister, as I mentioned. And Dave, let's talk about the Sioux Thunderbirds. We talked with Coach Doug Laprade about their game on Sunday, 5-1 victory over the Soo Eagles. They also had a victory on Thursday night by the score of 7-4 over Espanola. So the Thunderbirds 19-5 on the season, and they will be at Elliott Lake on Friday. Host Elliott Lake on Friday and at Espanola on Saturday. This Thunderbirds team, Dave, your thoughts? I know you've talked a lot about them on your show. They're looking good.
They're rolling. And, Brad Cuchamilio and Trevor Zachary provided a lot of information yesterday in that special edition that we had there at the live on location at the John Rhodes for the Eagles and Thunderbirds game. And I'll say right now that calling a horn for the Thunderbirds and Ned's doing absolutely amazing. He's stopping all the rubber right now, and Lucas Terrio up front, it goes without saying how he's been an absolute stud up there this year. The way he's moving the puck, and everyone criticizes Luke about how he's a little bit smaller than average, but gone are those days of being critical of someone's size in hockey. It's all about heart and speed when it comes to that, and they're doing this without Bearzan in the lineup. People are really forgetting about Bearzan as he is suspended, serving suspension. He's due to come back. I know Trevor has told me, but I think it's mid-December, a game or two before they go on their Christmas break, that he's due to come back. So they're missing a guy who's been a focal point and had a lot of good success up in their top six. So with the Sioux Thunderbirds right now, they are rolling on all cylinders. The goalies, both goalies, are playing well. The coaching staff with Parker, with Toots, and with Desano and Joey Miller back there, the guys are really buying into what they're saying. And yesterday, you heard it here with Doug, they got caught flat-footed. When you get caught behind the Thunderbirds, it's very hard to climb back. Or if you want to say it in a bird reference, very hard to claw or peck your way back.
Wow. You went there, didn't you?
There.
Let's talk about the Sioux Greyhounds, Dave, a team that had been struggling going into this week, and the Hounds righted the ship to some part this week. They did win on a Wednesday against a very good Sudbury team at the Gardens, Memorial Gardens, by the score of 7-4. They get Matthew Villalta back in net Friday night. They're up 4-1 at Guelph. They end up losing that game by the score, in overtime by the score of 5-4. So they do get a point on the road. And then the Hounds come back with a 7-4 victory over the Owen Sound Attack. Now I always want to call them the Platers back in the day,
Platers,
probably before your day.
That is before my time. I think he changed into the early
90s. Yes, I was very young, of course, during that stage. But I like this stat right here. Morgan Frost, Saturday night. No goals, 5 assists.
Love that.
That's a great stat line right there. Barrett Hayden also had a pair of goals for the Hounds. The Hounds first place in the West Division, 15-6-4-1. The Hounds will be on the road this week at Windsor on Thursday and at Saginaw on Saturday. So, Dave, I've talked to quite a few of my chums, if you will, about the Hounds. And, they did struggle a bit there for a couple weeks. But if you would have said at the beginning of the season, going into December, they'd be in first place. They'd have a record of 15-6. I think most, if not all, Hounds fans would have taken that.
Definitely would have taken that. I think we were sitting here in the summer saying, is this team going to be good or not, if they're going to be as good as last year? We all know that they weren't going to be as good as last year. They have a team right now that is firing all cylinders as well. And having Villalta back, they had a little bit of a struggle up and down the road. Without Villalta in the lineup due to that freakish injury, that kind of hurt. And Brad said it yesterday that Villalta is one of the top goalies in the Ontario Hockey League. So when you lose one of the top goalies in the league, and that's not disrespecting any of the backup goaltenders with the Sault Ste. Grounds. They're just not at Villalta's stage right now. So Villalta last year, I remember you and I criticized him all the goals he led in the playoffs, but we got to think of the defensive play that went with the Hounds last year. But keeping with this year, Villalta having him back really helps the Sault Ste. Grounds. And they got 3 out of 4 possible points against very good hockey teams. Guelph and Owen Sound are very good hockey teams. And London Knights are coming on right now. They're top in the conference right now. I think the Hounds are 2 points or ish behind them around that area. So the Hounds right now are in a position where they have to bounce back from those tough losses a couple weeks ago. Flint, they got Flint this weekend or next week. Next week they got Flint. Sorry. So those are some wins you got to put in your back pocket. You got a home and home there. They got to try to claw back and get those wins. And also with the Hounds, they have a team that has Morgan Frost, Barrett Hayden, the top 2 centers arguably in the Ontario Hockey League, and how Philly can't look at Morgan Frost, I really question, because of his playmaking abilities is really superb. His vision on the ice is amazing. He just doesn't play a Philadelphia Flyers type style hockey. They have Gritty as a mascot in Philadelphia for a reason, because they're gritty in Philadelphia. Morgan Frost doesn't have that in his game, but the Sault Ste. Grounds have a good offense, and Hollowell back there. I know you're a big fan of Hollowell.
I do like him. Do they need one more defenseman to really make that playoff push this year?
Yes, 100, maybe even 2.
Can we get Sandin back?
Now, that's funny because a fan of the show and not a scout, so I can't say it's nothing of an important feedback. I'm not saying he's not important, but, he doesn't have the inside scoop. He's
no Bob McKenzie is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. Rasmus Sandin apparently is not going back to Sweden.
Okay.
So if that is true, is he going to stay with the Toronto Marlies because he is hot, or where else would Dubas send him? Let's really think about that.
Now, you do have that connection in Toronto.
There's that connection. Hollowell's there. You got guys there. Arizona sent Baron Hayden back, their 5th overall pick in the draft.
Yeah.
The OHL is not a joke, and the Hounds are one defenseman away. You don't think that Raftis is talking to Dubas right now saying, hey, look, man, I know Sandin can play with men in Sweden. Why not play one more year in the OHL? Because let's get real. If he doesn't make the AHL next year, Sandin, he will play in Sweden because he won't play in the Ontario Hockey League. So I think it's wise that they do send Sandin back because he comes back, becomes a leader. It's halfway throughout the year. Why go join a team in Sweden? He'll only play 12 games in Sweden, then he's got to go back to the Marlies, which could risk a contract burn. So, no, send him down to the OHL with the Hounds. They're one defenseman away, ironically. They need Sandin back there. They got a lot of offensive guys, though, so I think if you bring back Sandin, I think Raftis should really think about bringing in a defensive defenseman as a second, third pairing guy who can shut down the play, kill penalties. You got Sandbrook, Sandin, and Hollowell back there. You got some good talent back there, but they are one defenseman away, Scott. And Sandin, the way I've said it, I don't think he's coming back. I said that countless times, and I still really don't. But now something's telling me that I feel that he's going to.
You're feeling it.
I'm feeling it because Dubas right now is not really worrying about Sandin. He has someone called William Nylander on the back of his mind that he's been dealing with months. And Sandin has 5 games left before he has 10 games left at the professional level before his contract year gets eaten. So why would Dubas use him when the Marlies, he's very successful right now, but why eat up a year of his contract when the Marlies don't truly truly need him back there as of yet. Send him down a junior one more year. Don't send him to Sweden for just a little bit of games with men. He can do that next year if he's not with the Marlies.
One other local note before we go to our next break. The Sioux Indians at home this weekend dropped a pair to Meyer, and they'll be at home again this weekend, taking on a Little Caesars squad. Always a good program there at the Taffy Able Arena. Saturday at 3 p.m. and Sunday at 10 a.m. Dave, we're going to give you a break here so you can enjoy some of the great food here at the Wicked Sister, and we'll talk to you again at the top of the next hour during the roundtable, sir.
Sounds good, Scotty.
All right, thank you. We'll be back with our next guest, Dionne Parker. She is the assistant head basketball coach for the Lake Superior State University women's basketball team, a team off to their best start in years. We'll talk Laker basketball with the coach up next here on Eagle 95.1. Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashmun Street. Want to thank our guests so far, Doug Laprade, head coach of the Soo Eagles, and Dave McCaig, co-host of the game and also host of the Game Sports Show from Sioux, Ontario. Dave will rejoin us at the top of the next hour online. We're expected, I should say, to be joined by Butch Davis from Butch On Sports around 6:45. Our broadcast engineer tonight, Dallas Miller, back in the Eagle 95.1 studios. And the Wicked Sister can cater your holiday party. Come on down and book it quickly, because hard to believe that December is going to be this weekend. And so you'll want to get your holiday party booked. The Wicked Sister will help you out. We are joined right now by our next guest, Dionne Parker, one of the assistant basketball coaches for the Lake Superior State University women's basketball team. Coach Parker, thanks for joining us once again at the Wicked Sister.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, glad to have you on again, Dionne. And let's talk about, as far as this year's squad, it's been a good start for the Laker women. This is a program that's been down a bit over the past few years, and you saw some growth in your first year last year with the team winning a few more games. First-year head coach Brandon Locken coming in, and the Lakers have gotten off to a very good start. 3-2 on the season, all games on the road. Best start, I think, in about 3 or 4 years. How do you feel about the start of this season going into conference play starting Thursday at Ashland?
I feel good. The girls been working hard. It was having some success on the road helped a lot to start. So I'm excited for conference. It's going to be a dogfight every night, but I think the girls are ready and prepared.
When you look at your squad this year, Coach, what are some of the strengths you see as far as the first 5 games? What are some of the things that your team appears to be getting better at or good at this stage?
I think we move the ball a lot, so everybody can score whenever. So I think just not having one go-to person is good. Everybody is a threat, so they have to respect everyone on the court.
Going back to this week's game, just one game down in Indianapolis, a pretty good Indianapolis squad, and the Lakers played well. They did lose by the score of 68-59 with Lexi Cohn scoring 23 points. Had a chance to tune into that game while I was at work. just checking the score, mind you, because I was curious for this show.
Yeah.
Hopefully work's not listening right now, but, Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Right.
It was kind of lax. Exactly. Thank you. But, look at that game. Even though it was a loss, I think the Lakers had a lot to hang their hat on that game.
Absolutely. You India is a great squad, so it was good to see some growth up for us personally hanging in it there with them. So we were excited for that.
Going into conference play, Coach, this is where things start to get maybe a little more difficult for the Lakers. I mean, you start off against an Ashland squad that, oh, by the way, won the national championship just a couple years ago, and is always good. And how do you go into a game like that, taking on an opponent, obviously that's going to be ready for the Lakers? Is confidence starting to build with this squad?
For sure, absolutely. I think each game you see more confidence grow from everybody. Like you said, Ashland's a great squad, so going in there is always a good experience.
Coach Dionne Parker joining us on the game. The Laker women will have their home schedule start here in December. Their first home game will be on Thursday, December 6th against Saginaw Valley State University at the Bud Cooper Gymnasium. Coach, we talked about Laker basketball at this time last year, brand new to the area, and I'm just curious as far as how you feel your first season has gone, and just living in Sault Ste. Marie, coming from different areas, how's it been for you?
It was difficult at first to get used to, the small city or town, but I love everybody's nice, so definitely enjoying my time here in the Sioux.
working with head coach Brandon Locke, and somebody familiar with Laker basketball, though he is new to the women's program. He's been around a very successful coach in Steve Hedinga, and brought, I think, a lot of that winning mentality and a lot of the things that work well for Coach Hedinga to the women's squad. How has it been working with him and the other assistant coach as well, Sarah Evans, right?
Holt.
Holt, excuse me. No, it's close.
Yeah, I was very close.
2 letters away, maybe 3.
It's been great. Brandon, I learned so much in such a small time with him. He knows the game better than a lot of people that I know, so it's very good to sit down, talk to him every day in the office, and try to learn how he sees the game. So it's been great.
So you go on these long road trips, and you guys have had some long road trips. First of all, going to, I believe, Southern Ohio for the West Virginia. You go to Indianapolis. Does that help with the team bonding, having those early matchups, especially with some of the younger players, getting those long bus trips? Is that something you think is a good thing at the beginning of the year?
I think so, yeah. We have spent a lot of time together, so you learn to like each other very quickly.
Or maybe get annoyed with each other once in a while. That never happens with Coach Locken, though.
No,
very even-keeled, the guy. Never gets upset about anything, correct?
No.
What should fans here expect to see from the Lakers this season, Coach, when you have more home games coming up here in December and January as far as a squad on the club? What would you say a fan maybe that hasn't seen this Laker basketball team play in a while and sees this is a team that's starting to be built back up, much like a lot of the programs right now at Lake Superior State? What would you say a fan maybe that hasn't seen the Lakers will see from this year's squad?
Hopefully a team that loves to play together. You see the energy that they have, the bench, no matter what the score is, we're always cheering for each other, always picking each other up. So hopefully just a team that loves to play the game of basketball.
Your coaching plans as far as in the future, obviously you like it here at Lake State. This is your first college, I believe.
Yep.
Are you looking down the road as far as things, or are you just happy where things are, just kind of seeing where it goes?
Yeah, honestly, just taking it day by day. I love where I'm at, so just going with the flow right now.
Now I'm going to ask, since I'm out of my questions that I had prepared, just some curious questions. I think I might have asked you this last year, but are you a Michigan or Michigan State fan? Or neither?
I don't know. Probably neither.
Okay.
But, a lot of the people, Brandon and stuff, they're Michigan fans, so I tend to root for Michigan.
And that's where I knew Brandon was a Michigan fan, and I was wondering how he felt about that game Saturday. Because me as a Michigan State fan, let me tell you, I felt really good about that Ohio State game. That was absolutely fantastic. We'll talk more about that with Butch Davis as well as E.J. Russell during the roundtable. Coach Dionne Parker joining us on the game. Well, Coach, best of luck the rest of the season. Looking forward to seeing Laker women's and men's basketball. Again, the Lakers on the road this weekend. You're at Ashland on Thursday and then at Wayne State on Saturday.
Yeah, that's correct.
2 good programs right there. That's a tough start to the year as far as matchups. And then the Lakers will be at home on Thursday, December 6th, taking on Saginaw Valley State. And then again that Saturday, December 8th. Then you have a few more home contests before the schedule really starts to heat up in January. Coach Parker, best of luck this season. I appreciate you coming on, and best of luck to the Lady Lakers.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And thank you. We'll be back with Butch Davis from Butch On Sports coming up next on the game here on Eagle 95.1. Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason broadcasting for the Wicked Sister on Ashmun Street on this Monday night. Our broadcast engineer is Dallas Miller. Want to thank our guests so far, Doug Laprade, head coach of the Soo Eagles. Also want to thank Dave McCaig, who will rejoin us during the second hour online at thegamesportshow.com, and Dionne Parker, the assistant coach for the Laker women's basketball team. The full 2-hour show is available, as I mentioned, online at thegamesportshow.com or thegamesportshow.podbean.com. We upload that usually around 9:30 on Monday nights. It's for free. You can also hear all our shows, including the Game Sports Show from Sioux, Ontario with Dave McCaig, and our show from our next guest, Butch Davis from Butch On Sports, who has his own radio show, Butch On Sports, where he talks about the Metro Detroit sports scene. Butch joins us each and every week. Love having him on. Butch, how you doing on this Monday after Thanksgiving, sir?
It's nice and cold here, but I'm doing just great here.
Butch, we talked a little bit about the high school football finals, and I want to start with there and kind of work our way up from college to the pros, if you can call the Detroit Lions pros. But let's start with the MSHAA high school football finals this weekend at Ford Field. I already rolled through all the scores. I wanted to talk to you as far as any of the matchups that you saw and your thoughts on the high school football finals.
I saw the very last one, and the very last one is Muskegon and Detroit Martin Luther King. I thought that would be a very hospitable game here, and it was at the very last moment when King just took over the game and gave Muskegon, which is a doggone good club there, some headaches there. And I didn't expect that would happen, but it did, and King rode away with that game 41 to something there. I'll put it that way. I remember the 41 there. And I remember a good, huge crowd there. The biggest crowd I've seen taking in a game since I've been covering it for a very long time, man. Just go back to the Silverdome.
Butch, let's move on to college football, the big game of the weekend, Michigan and Ohio State. And most people thought Michigan had a good chance in that one. Maybe a few thought Ohio State could maybe pull it off. And, well, the Ohio State Buckeyes did for the fourth time under Jim Harbaugh. And the 14th time in 15 games, the Michigan Wolverines, they couldn't beat Ohio State as their number one defense in the nation was pummeled by Ohio State as quarterback Dwayne Haskins threw 5 touchdown passes and lit up the Michigan Wolverines and won the Big Ten East by the score of 62-39. In beating down Big Blue, it keeps Ohio State's playoff hopes alive, and, well, Michigan still has a chance to get to a very good bowl. But, Butch, Michigan, big game, Ohio State, just has not worked year in, year out, has it?
Big game is an understatement. They got smashed. Now you know why Ohio State for 4 or 5 weeks looked crummy, okay? They were saving all their best for last. And it sure did work. It worked tremendously for Ohio State. No quarterback sacks at all. The quarterback wasn't even pressured at all. He did whatever he wanted to do. He passed wherever he wanted to do. The defense took care of business where it should, and that was stopping Michigan's running game and also put some pressure on their passing game as well. Ohio State, you got to tip your hat off to them there. They did one mighty fine job on University of Michigan on Saturday.
We'll talk more about the college football and playoff potential here in hour 2. Butch, let's move on to Thanksgiving Day. Oh, yes, the Thanksgiving tradition, that is the Detroit Lions. And the Detroit Lions looking like the Detroit Lions as Chase Daniels, whoever he is, he made his third start in 9 years. And he outdueled Matt Stafford, who's been in the league 10 years and makes over $100 million, as the Chicago Bears defeated the Detroit Lions by the score of 23-16. Stafford threw 2 key bad interceptions in the fourth quarter as the Lions now fall to 4-7, pretty much eliminating their playoff hopes. And, well, it doesn't get any better for Lions fans as they'll take on the LA Rams on Sunday. Butch, Lions, what do you say? I know you got a lot to say. Your floor, sir.
Well, you could now, Scott, officially say, well, the Lions are done for the season there.
Done.
Very done and cooked to a crispy fried, succulent gravy is needed for the kind of cover up some of the scars
right
that on that particular team there. I said, and I kind of thought, and I kind of hinted it on Butch On Sports that I thought they would somewhat approach the offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, okay, when this slumbering thing begun here. But they didn't do it. They got away with a win courtesy of the Panthers, giving it to them by going for a 2-point conversion. Other than that, they will still be eating mud. They just ate mud a week later than expected, and it was bad. Chicago gave them reasons to go on down there and take care of business. Again, the Detroit Lions did not respect the dollar bills of the Detroit citizens and beyond. Coming in there ready to play, going in there giving their all. They look like slop on a doggone rainy, snowy day, okay? And that's the worst kind of stuff to drive in there. It's it's pitiful that an organization such as the Lions, and I've said it before, and I hate using this term there, they care more about making money than they care about getting a championship. But again, it showed very much so on Thanksgiving that they just don't care. They care less what the fans think. And again, we're going through another season. If they wanted a 9-7 record, which they may not get this year, they could have kept Jim Caldwell, okay,
right.
and work with him and getting things kind of together, maybe making adjustments in order to make it right. To use this excuse all the time on coaching is ridiculous. Again, and I spoke about it last week on the show, it's time for the general manager, the owners, to fess up to the fans that either we're going to really do better or really make a doggone traumatic change in how we do business with the Detroit Lions, or maybe it's time for them to start selling, okay, or giving it to some owner who really would care about the Detroit interest, and that's the fans' interest, in finally getting a chance to play in a Super Bowl.
Butch, one thought for myself on the Lions, and, I've been saying this about Stafford for a long time, and there's a lot of Stafford apologists out there. He gets signed a big contract this season, and one of the things that I've heard from the people that are defenders of Matt Stafford is, well, the Lions need an offensive line. Okay, they go out and get some offensive line help, and the line has played better overall, I think, for the most part. Well, the Lions need a running game. They need to free up Stafford. Well, you know what? They didn't have Kieran Johnson, but it looked like Garris Blunt did pretty good in the running game, and yet Stafford throws those 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter. No, it's not all his fault, but Chase Daniels, for crying out loud, this guy I never even heard of. He started 3 games in 9 years. Stafford's played 10 years, played every game, and he just can't win the big game. I know it's not all Matt Stafford, but at some point, don't the Lions have to look and say, this is just not the guy?
Well, I say it wasn't the guy either. For somebody to sign that much money to someone who's not won a playoff game, who's not won a big game, who's not shown steady development in winning or getting first place, that was kind of stupid for the Detroit Lions to wrap their money into someone that really doesn't have the ability of other quarterbacks in this league who are very successful. And also, when I say successful, their teams are winning and going to playoffs. Being able to be mobile. Again, Stafford had many lanes to cross in that game where he could have just took off running right up there and did a quarterback sneak. Maybe he held the ball 101, 102, run, okay? Get whatever you can get. Instead of putting the ball in the air, Stafford is satisfied in standing there and making a buffoon of himself by passing the ball and showing everybody I'm scared, okay? I don't like to run. And it's hurt this team. It's hurt this team tremendously here by the lanes that other teams give this man. And he won't take it to maybe pick up a short 10 yards or a short 8 yards, or maybe in some possibilities, maybe more than that. It's just comical, okay? And it goes back to saying that, you put your stock in one person there, and you know what? The soup still tastes like water.
Butch Davis joining. I love your comments, Butch. Butch Davis joining us on the game. Butch, let's talk about a couple of Detroit teams that are actually performing pretty well. Let's start with the Detroit Red Wings. The Red Wings have gotten their record up to 500, which about a month ago I don't think many people would have said besides you, because you've been consistent on these guys. The Wings right now 10-10-3. They did lose their last game at home to the surging the Buffalo Sabres. The Wings are hosting Columbus, matter of fact, in a few minutes here at Little Caesars Arena. They'll also host St. Louis on Wednesday, be at Boston on Saturday, and home to Colorado on Sunday night. Butch, this Wings team getting themselves off to a very good November and hoping to continue that in December. Your thoughts on the Wings getting to 500?
Hey, they did pick up a point, so take that into consideration.
Right.
They didn't get 2, but they did get 1. And the game always did go over to a shootout there in order for Buffalo to win. Fantastic goaltending in the game by both goaltenders, indeed, in that particular last one there. Again, the Detroit Red Wings, I keep telling fans, they're not in as bad a shape as many people think. They have some very talented young kids in Grand Rapids as well as in Detroit. And right now the competition is based on Grand Rapids or who's going to stay in Detroit. Because if you kind of mess up in Detroit, they're going to send you up. Ern got it. He got a day reprieve and showed no difference to the management staff of the Detroit Red Wings, so got sent back up. And you're going to see that revolving door. You're going to see some guys who wants to come down there and maybe make a difference in order to stay. There is room for a lot of new kids who want to stay and show a huge improvement with the Red Wings as far as helping them win some games. And again, they're not in that bad a shape where they have to go out here or trade or mess up the team by giving up talent or future talent in the future that they already acquired just to be somewhere that, like the Lions, I'll use them for example, that really got nowhere to go but down in the ground. Okay, so right now they're doing pretty dang good here. You got to applaud Jeff Blasio and his coaching staff and what they're doing to help this team grow and also help this team win.
Another team, Butch, that is winning and maybe some would say are growing, the Detroit Pistons. A good week for the Pistons as they topped Portland last afternoon, evening, defeating Portland by the score of 118-107 as Andre Drummond, 19 points, 16 rebounds. The Pistons now 10-7, their high water mark of the season. Well, actually they were 4-0, but one of their high marks as they will host the New York Knicks on Tuesday, Chicago on Friday, and then defending NBA champ Golden State on Saturday. Butch, Pistons, not a bad week.
Well, that was Phoenix, not Portland there.
Phoenix, I'm sorry, you're correct. Thank you. But big difference in those two teams.
Yeah, big hiccup there. You had some leftovers, huh?
Among other things, thank you.
Yes, I think the Pistons are learning right now here that their two main guns, and that is Andre Drummond and Blake Griffin. They are the go-away. Now, I think where the Pistons now are doing some major improvement here is Jackson is playing a little bit better ball there, and they're getting their guards to be a lot more focused on making shots. I think too much of an emphasis in early part in the season or during training camp on making three-pointers got to the Pistons at a point where they're not a three-point shooting team right now. That's something that has to grow on you, and you get better, and you practice, and you practice, and you practice, and maybe so down the road a piece they will be a better perimeter shooting team. But right now they're taking what's allowed that they can get. They're grinding it out with some of these teams in order to get some victories, and it's good to see right now here. A win is always better than a loss.
Butch Davis joining us on the game. Butch will continue to join us during hour 2 online at thegamesportshow.com. We'll have Dave McCaig back along with E.J. Russell. Butch, we got about 2 minutes or so. Any other sports that you wanted to talk about here on the radio that you've followed or things that you're interested in as far as sports coverage here? The high school basketball season starts this week. Can you believe that?
Yeah, that ran up on me very quick. Starting with the girls, I think on December the 3rd, and the boys likewise, maybe a couple of days later, maybe that weekend too. Wow, that came up on us very, very quick, and I'm quite sure there's some in-house scrimmages going on, along with a whole heck of a lot of good stuff there. As far as teams getting ready for hopefully a momentous season in high school sports. A lot of stock is being put in right now on a many team because they're getting good players young. When I say young, the freshmen or what it may be, those freshmen and sophomores are coming up very, very talented here. And I looked at some of the rosters there without getting the final rosters. I'll get a lot of those by the end of this week where I can share with you guys some of the players that we got to really take our eyes on. But right down here right now, it's something that needs to be looked at here. Also, I talk about the UD Titans there. I think they're going to be a better team than a lot of people expect. Mike Davis got the ideal of what he needs to see in a winning basketball club that he's changing the outlet and the outskirts of basketball. Antonio Davis, remember that name. He is the big bopper for the Detroit Mercy Titans there. Watch him, see how he runs, because, again, this guy is something special that the Titans got there. Along with some people that they have last year, some seniors and some juniors, I think the Titans are going to be raring to go and hopefully make the playoffs. Well, they will make the playoffs, per se, there, but go to the NCAA or maybe the NITs is a pretty good bet if the Titans play out the way I think they will.
Butch Davis joining us on the game. Again, you can hear his show, Butch on Sports, on this podcast page, thegamesportshow.com, or go directly to his podcast page, Simply Butch 2. That's TOO.podomatic.com. Butch, hang tight for a few minutes. We'll come back in hour 2 and have you join us for the roundtable, sir.
All righty.
And that's going to do it here for hour 1 on the radio. Again, want to thank all our guests. Doug Laprade, head coach of the Soo Eagles. Dave McCaig will join us again in hour 2. And Dionne Parker, assistant basketball coach for the Laker women's basketball team, along with our broadcast engineer, Dallas Miller. We appreciate that, and we appreciate everybody here at the Wicked Sister making us feel at home. We'll be back here next Monday night on the radio starting at 6 o'clock. For those on the radio, we'll get you back to Classic Hits at Random. And for those online, stay tuned for hour 2 of the game here on Eagle 95.1. Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason and Dave McCaig broadcasting at the Wicked Sister on Ashmun Street, hour 2 of the 2-hour show. Want to thank all our guests in hour 1 and want to thank and welcome all our guests here. We're continuing to be joined by Butch Davis from Butch On Sports, joining us here at the Wicked Sister from Eagle 95.1, Katie Woolen. Katie, thanks for coming in during hour 2 of the game.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks for having me.
And we're joined online once again by regular contributor and all-around good guy, E.J. Russell, joining us from the Banana Belt of the Upper Peninsula, known as Escanaba, Michigan, who had a very good weekend. E.J., how you doing on this Monday night, sir?
Well, I'll tell you this. It's probably the greatest Monday I've had in a long time. What a great weekend for Cleveland / Ohio sports. Excuse me. Great weekend. That's how happy I am. Just get a little choked up talking about it. But happy to be here and great to have such a great crew to work with tonight.
Well, EJ, since you and Katie are our newest guests, we'll go to you first and then Katie for a topic on the round table. Butch will give you first crack, then we'll go to Dave, Katie, and myself. So, EJ Russell, what would you like to bring up on tonight's round table, sir?
Well, what a weekend it was for me as far as football goes and for being a fan of the teams that I support. I got two options here. I can go with Ohio State and beating Michigan handily, or I can go more my typical route and talk about the Cleveland Browns, the state of the NFL, and what your guys' thoughts are at. Cleveland Browns coming off consecutive wins in back-to-back games. Yes, they had a bye week last week, but consecutive wins for them, including snapping 64-game back-to-back win streak, and I believe it was in roughly a 17-game road losing streak. And I'll have some numbers for you guys as we wrap up this topic here to get more accurate on that. But status of the NFL right now, what do you guys think of Blake Bortles getting benched in Jacksonville after firing their offensive coordinator, and Andy Dalton being down for the remainder of the season, having injured his thumb? What are your guys' thoughts on the NFL right now and just general NFL chat?
Butch, you and I talked about the Lions-Bears debacle. I'll go to you first. NFL Week 12, what say you, sir?
Hey, first of all, let's talk about Dave McCaig and that delicious Cajun chicken sandwich with the tots that people didn't get before. I just want you to say it. Say it, Dave. Good.
Some chicken Cajun? Chicken Cajun.
There you go, Butch.
There you go. Right. All right. Now, yeah, I got what I got what I had to do here. Get your sandwich here.
NFL talk. Let's go. Get it together.
Good. Yes, indeed. Well, let me talk about, first of all, the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns, I've been kind of rooting on them all season long here, and I know they would get better. I praise them because they're doing a team and building the team up maybe the right way here. They finally got a great general manager there who will stand up to everybody and everything in order for the betterment of the team. They got that. They got a quarterback there who is not afraid, unlike the quarterback we talked about in the first hour of the show. And you just got so many good things going for you. And as momentum speaks its terms there, hopefully Cleveland gets better and better and wins some more games here. As far as the other quarterback, Blake Bortles, he wasn't going nowhere. He was going to get thrown out the street at the end of the season anyway. Andy Dalton, he's another quarterback that he has lived out his time. He may get another shot next year. Very seldom that right now I see Cincinnati going after a quarterback here, if there's any left for him, okay? So don't throw out Cincinnati. Don't throw them out indeed. There's many has done it in the past, and they all were wiping mud off their face. So, again, those teams are, I say Cincinnati, and also some other teams in the NFL are not finished yet there. The Lions are finished, okay? But again, I kind of enjoyed the way Cleveland is getting their groove on and making the fans happy. 4 games, they got the same record as the Detroit Lions. Can you get to that?
Unbelievable, Butch. Let's go to Dave McCaig. Your thoughts, Kegger, on the NFL, what EJ spoke to, and your Steelers getting a loss there at Denver. What's your thoughts on Week 12 of the NFL? Excuse me.
First things first, Butch, chicken Cajun tots, okay?
Yeah.
Secondly, with the Cleveland Browns, they have found a quarterback, baby. I'm a Baker Mayfield fan, thick and through. They got him through the draft. I love it. You know, my roommate and also panel member of the Game Sports Show, Dane Hancho, even yelled that in our apartment, where he said the Browns have found a quarterback. I'm a lover of Baker Mayfield. I'm feeling the shake and bake or the bake and make. I don't know, whatever. EJ, you can make a nickname up here, whatever you want to go with. But
no love to Hugh Jackson, though, apparently, afterwards. Hugh Jackson went for the hug, and Baker Mayfield just shook his hand. Should be hugging.
I actually didn't see that. Yeah, he should have hugged. But you know what? I'm a Baker guy. Maybe something happened there that we do not know. He did bench Baker at the beginning of the year.
That might be it.
And he is better than Tyrod Taylor. So
I would think so.
The Browns beating the Bengals, too. Very excited, as Borat would say. As, you got the Steelers needing that win after that loss, you said, Scotty, against the Denver Broncos in the Mile High. I don't know what was happening with my Steelers there, Big Ben. And the Steelers, it's been a year where they haven't been able to close the games or get the wins that they want. He threw two interceptions, 462 passing yards, though. Okay, the guy's throwing bombs throughout the air. But here's one big stat. Antonio Brown had 13 targets, which is a good number of targets, but only had 67 reception yards. So there was a lot of coverage to Antonio Brown, and Juju had a good week. James Conner, though, had a lot of missed catches. Now, I will say Le'Veon Bell, who's not returning to the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, that we all know, and James Conner has done a fantastic job filling in for him with his touches and the amount of yardage he's been able to gain. But his vision on catching footballs and like having receptions are not as good as Le'Veon is. So I think the Steelers have a loss there. I think they got to start throwing the ball more to Vance Thanos McDonald. They like to call him Thanos.
Love the first name.
Yeah, I think they need to start throwing the ball over to McDonald a bit more. The guy is an absolute truck. So I think you got to start throwing him the ball a little bit more. And the defensive end of the Steelers, yesterday was suspect. I'm still not sold. It's like I'm saying this about every one of my sports teams, unless it's the Toronto Raptors. The defense is struggling. Look at the Leafs. Look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not a big fan of Pittsburgh's defense still. They've had a decent year, surprising year in my view, I feel. But I feel like there's something that could have been improved on that end for the Steelers. But they still have a team. And for Tony Romo to say that the Steelers are the most complete team in football, I'm a Steeler fan. They are one of the top teams in football, in my opinion. I think they got one of the best offenses, but nothing compares to New Orleans Saints right now. Okay, that team, the New Orleans Saints, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Los Angeles Rams, very good offensive talents, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, being in the same division as the Patriots and Chiefs, need to get organized on that D-core. They don't need to be stellar, just organized, and Big Ben has to start throwing the ball a little bit more, even into double coverage to Antonio Brown, because 8 times out of 10 he is going to catch that football. There's not any better damn receiver in the National Football League.
Wow, going with the curse word.
I'm saying damn
wow.
Because there isn't. There isn't. And Juju, if there's double coverage on Brown, that means there's only single coverage on Juju Smith-Schuster. So throw the ball to Juju is one of the fastest wide receivers in football. All in all, this week in football was all full of surprises in general. Blake Bortles, EJ, I'm going to say, I love that he's getting benched. I don't think the guy deserves to be playing football if Colin Kaepernick is on the bench. I know Blake Bortles made it to one of the last games of the year last year, but it wasn't because of Blake Bortles. It's because of Leonard Fournette and the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. Colin Kaepernick is sitting on the sidelines because he kneels during the national anthem. No disrespect, but sitting him is a good idea. And the Jacksonville Jaguars need a new quarterback at the helm if they want to bounce back for success next year.
I'll go next, and then we'll go to EJ for his own topic. Lots of talk about the Rams, the Chiefs, and the Saints, as there should be. Those are the 3 best teams in football. But there's 3 teams right now that I'm watching that are the hottest teams really in football.
Colts.
Started with the Indianapolis Colts. Thank you for stealing my thunder, Dave.
Sorry.
They've won 5 in a row. I mean, they were dead at 1-5, and all of a sudden they're 6-5, very competitive. In the AFC South, they defeat Miami by the score of 27-24. Andrew Luck has thrown 3 or more touchdown passes in 8-9 games now. I mean, this is a guy that was hurt last year that many people thought, I don't know if this is the guy. Indianapolis, watch out for that team right now. Yep. Eric Ebron, I just have to shake my head at how many touchdowns he played for 3 years for the Lions. He got 12 touchdowns. He has 12 touchdowns this year, for crying out loud. Watch out for Indianapolis in the AFC South. The other team I'm watching, 2 other teams, Houston Texans playing tonight against Tennessee. Start the year 0-3. They're done. Deshaun Watson, he's a one-hit wonder. Boom, they've won 7 in a row. Probably will win against Tennessee tonight. Houston right now, as good as anybody. And the team I'm very intrigued by, the Los Angeles Chargers. Mm-hmm. Just kind of quietly going about their business. Yep. They defeat Arizona by the score of 45-10. Phillip Rivers had an amazing day. How about this stat line? 28 of 29, 359 touchdowns and 3 touchdowns in the first 3 quarters. I mean, Arizona's not good, but, Phillip Rivers, 15 years in the league. Watch out for that, I almost said San Diego team. Watch out for that LA Chargers team. I'm really liking what I see there. So I know you guys have touched on some of the other teams. Those are the 3 teams I'm watching right now. Indianapolis, Houston, the LA Chargers. EJ Russell, your thoughts on your topic, sir?
Well, as I'm sitting here, I just got buzzed. Leonard Fournette has been suspended for his actions in the game versus the Buffalo Bills. I'm trying to get info on that, more info for you guys right now as this story is coming through. But Leonard Fournette suspended for his actions against Buffalo Bills on Sunday. As far as the Cleveland Browns go, to get right into the NFL talk here, looking at the tides that are turning in Cleveland, okay, and I'm stealing this from a post I saw on ESPN. Notable streaks that the team has snapped this year: 17-game losing streak, 19-game winless streak, 18-game AFC North winless streak in what is a very tough division. Usually at least 1, if not 2 of those teams, obviously 1 always, but a lot of times 2 teams going to the playoffs from that division. 33-game losing streak on Sundays, 25-game road losing streak, which is a correction to a statistic that I gave out earlier, and 64 games without back-to-back wins. Okay, in doing so, Baker Mayfield has increased his completion percentage from 58% to 66% after the coaching change, after Hugh Jackson's firing and Todd Haley's release from the team. He's also averaging 2.2 more yards per attempt, and his touchdown to interception ratio has gone from 8 to 6, to 9 touchdowns to 1 interception since the changes. And what I'm seeing there is a shift in the belief of that team in the locker room. Okay, and Baker Mayfield is one of the biggest reasons for that change. He's doing a fantastic job leading the team. They are playing together. Butch and I talked about this before we got on with you, Scott. A couple of the things that I loved is after the interception, and Butch mentioned this to me, after the interception, Randall handing the ball right to Hugh Jackson. I thought that was absolutely hysterical. And then at the end of the game, Hugh Jackson going in for the handshake and getting handshake stiff-armed by Baker Mayfield. was just appropriate. And I love the way that Baker approached when he was asked that question in the post-game interview. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, the guy wanted us to believe in him in the locker room, and he goes to a division rival that we have to play twice a year. That's not cool. We didn't, right now he's just another coach, and that's kind of what it is. And again, I'm paraphrasing what Baker said, and there's some words in there that he definitely spoke. But I love the way that he's approaching the game. He's approaching it without fear. I love after they came off their win before the bye week, he said he was feeling dangerous. I mean, the guy is exactly what you want in a quarterback in this league. He is a winner. I will go to Dave real quick and comment on him. You saying that Blake Bortles deserves to be benched as long as Kaepernick's not playing in this league. I'm not even going to comment on the protest that Kaepernick is making, but people need to look at his statistics over the last year and a half, 2 years of his NFL career. Out of 36 or 37 eligible quarterbacks that were in this statistic, he ranked 34th. He's below the top 32 starting quarterbacks in the league at the end of his career. And I'm not saying that the protest doesn't have anything to do with it, but let's not act like Colin Kaepernick was a stud in that last few years of his career. Okay. So let's just bring that up. I do agree that Blake Bortles does need to be benched. That team's lost, 7 straight games? I believe 3 or 4 of them came with Leonard Fournette being injured, and I know, Dave, you said he was a big reason for their success, but they've been missing him, and I think that they're putting a lot of pressure on Blake Bortles there. But benching him, it has to be the correct move. As far as the Pittsburgh Steelers go, I do think they have issues to address on defense, but I agree that they're one of the best offenses in the National Football League. But really, to me, still the story throughout this entire season has been the play of number 15 suiting up for the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. This young man is just playing incredible football beyond his level, and really is, to me, the player of the year. Keep your eye on Saquon Barkley. He's obviously doing great things in New York, having come off a tough loss this week against Philadelphia Eagles. But congratulations, I thought the biggest surprise to me this week was the Seattle Seahawks beating the Carolina Panthers at home. The Carolina Panthers were a team that have performed exceptionally at home this year, with a lot of that being Christian McCaffrey is the reason, getting over 100-something all-purpose yards, a couple touchdowns, had something like 35 fantasy points in standard scoring this week, and I have him in my league, wink, wink. But I thought that Sebastian Janikowski coming up, nailing that kick for the Seahawks was, to me, the best game of the week, especially with the way that the Carolina Panthers have played this home this year.
Let's continue the round table here at the Wicked Sister. Katie Woolen, we'll go to you first.
Yes.
Butch, we'll give you first crack, and then Dave, myself, and EJ. So, Katie Woolen, I've been here for a while due to some other commitments. What would you like to bring up on tonight's round table?
Obviously, I'm going to bring up the NBA, so here it goes, guys. So less than 2 months ago, NBA writers and analysts, they're talking about picking the Warriors and the Celtics being in the finals, NBA finals this year. With that logic, being better than everyone else, the Warriors, that is.
Would I say the finals would be Katie? Would I say?
Let her finish her topic,
finish
sir. You have your chance.
Let me get to it. And the
Okay.
Celtics returning, obviously 2 all-NBA talents to the roster that weren't there last year. As you know, both teams have been pretty creaky the last couple
Creaky.
I love that term.
last couple
I know Butch
weeks.
would like that term.
So my question is to you guys, which team is pushing the panic button right now? The Celtics or the Warriors, and why?
Butch, great question. Katie, I'll give you first crack at the topic. Excuse me.
Really, none of them. I don't think they're going to be at any alarm at this present time. Not this early in the season, but Katie, you got a good point there. They do look crickety or creaky or sloppy. There's a lot of work and a lot of little hostility going on, especially in Golden State's camp right now, while Steph Curry gets a 2-week vacation and with pay. Before he goes back on the court. They're doing what they want to do in order to be in the NBA Finals. And hopefully, if that's the team that you did pick, God bless you here. Myself personally, we ain't speaking enough about Toronto and the job they're doing this year, although the Pistons beat them at home. I like that. And,
Me too.
Yeah, I love that one. And and also some of the teams in the West they're doing pretty well there. The LA Clippers, we thought they would be in the garbage can right now. The Clippers are doing some winning here. The Portland Trail Blazers are doing nothing but winning right now here. It's early in the game. Their breath back in the action. Of course, the Pistons again beat them too. Again, you give it a little time, a little effort. You're going to have some little rocky roads that you travel away right now in the early part of anybody's season. I say you always wait till after the first of the year. That's when the real NBA gets into action there. So just hold on to your seats here. Don't sell no homes. Don't leave town by sundown. Just hang on in there, and we'll really see what teams rise to the top there.
Great topic, Katie, because anytime Butch says leave town by sundown, it's always a great thing as far as I'm concerned. Dave McCaig, your thoughts on Katie's topic?
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you, Kate. I don't even care about Golden State. You know that too very well. Scott knows that more than anybody on this table.
Animosity.
You know what?
Like a middle school girl.
Any team hitting the panic button, though, I'll be honest, Butch is right. I don't think either of them's hitting the panic button, unfortunately, as much I'd love to see Golden State hit every panic button in the world. But the Celtics are 500. So if I had to pick a team, that's the team that's hitting the panic button. It's Golden State that they're not hitting no panic button. They got 6 guys that are on all-star teams. So they're not hitting no panic button. If they're going to hit panic button, there's a problem. There's a chemistry problem or a leadership problem or a morale problem more than a team problem. So I got to go Celtics. Out of those 2 teams that you said are the teams that would most likely hit the panic button. And yes, people did pick the Celtics and Warriors, a lot of members of the media. But if I recall correctly, I know Butch and I said the Raptors and Warriors in the finals. I think if I remember correctly.
I bet, yeah.
And Cleveland, no offense, EJ, loving them at the bottom. They've had enough at the top. I loved how, with
Thanks.
LeBron James, that's a big reason why they're up there. LA is a team with the Lakers. They're 7-3 right now. People are not looking at LA. They're 7th in the Western Conference. There's a team that, once again, that I think we all called would bounce back after a slow start and get up into the playoff standings. The Raptors are the first in the NBA right now, baby. And I'm loving every minute of it. They did have a tough loss against the Pistons. You're right there, Butch, after a nice little foot and kicking out of bounds by Kawhi Leonard nonetheless. Dwayne Casey getting the win at home and 2 points, the final buzzer there. I forget who got the final basket at the end there. But, it's the NBA right now in the Eastern Conference is more competitive than people think it is. The Bucks are a great basketball team. I don't know why a lot of people don't talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo. I just love saying his last name, I think, more than anything.
You get it right, too.
Antetokounmpo, yeah. I saw him live, and the guy's a freak. The Greek freak for a reason. The Philadelphia 76ers giving Jimmy Butler was a very good trade. I love the 76ers. It's not trust the process anymore. I think it is we the process. I forget what it is. I know someone might correct me on that. There's another hashtag that they have going on. But all in all, the NBA in general, your question was just Celtics and Golden State. Celtics hitting the panic button. The Raptors in first. I couldn't love it more. I'm not huge on watching basketball because I've disliked it as much as Golden State has been a dynasty team because of, yes, my hatred. Sorry, Scott, I got to say that word.
Strong word.
Against how that team is built. But nonetheless, I hope the Raptors continue success. I love watching basketball. It's fun in Toronto right now.
Yeah, I'll go next here, lady and gentlemen. I wouldn't push the panic button just yet, especially with Golden State. I'm not worried about them. No Curry, Draymond Green, he's been out. Him and Durant are fighting. You don't even have.
They're fighting.
Yeah, they're fighting. They're having a little spat. You don't even have DeMarcus Cousins that has even played yet. So Golden State, they'll be fine. They'll be in the NBA Finals. I would be very surprised if that doesn't happen. Boston may be a little more concerned, but again, as Butch said, as Dave said, it's very early in the game. And I think this Eastern Conference right now, you finish 1 through 8, I don't think it really matters where you finish. I mean, Toronto is number 1 seed. We saw what happened last year. It didn't really do them much good. Toronto has been the story of the East along with Milwaukee, but you look at what happened with Milwaukee. They lost to Phoenix on Friday night, a team the Pistons played.
4-15.
Yeah, 4-15 Phoenix on Sunday. So I wouldn't be too concerned with Boston. I'm happy to see Detroit in the mix. Out west, you guys mentioned it. Butch said the Clippers. A lot of people had the Clippers not doing a whole heck of a lot. And they're right now number 1 in the West. Denver continues to play well. Memphis, a team that, again, you're kind of expecting them to maybe fall off at some point, much like we've seen Sacramento and some of the other teams early on. Memphis is a team that I'm interested in. So to answer your question, Katie, I wouldn't be too concerned, especially if I'm Golden State, but Boston, because we're still only, a quarter of the way through the season. Still lots of basketball to be played. EJ Russell, your thoughts before we go back to Katie?
Well, as far as to address specifically Katie's topic, I think if I'm the Golden State, if I'm in, start with this. If I'm the Boston Celtics, I'm not at all panicking. Okay. Even LeBron, one of the best players, if not the best player of all time, it takes time to gel with his new team. Okay. And Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving are really getting their first chances to play together here. So give them some time to figure out the chemistry. They're both not, they're more of your new school of basketball, shooting the three-pointer, a great ball handling, and they're going to create something special there in Boston. Congratulations to Toronto Raptors, though, by the way. Best team in the NBA, coming out of the Eastern Conference. I don't think anybody saw that. But if I'm in Golden State, I'm pushing the concern button. I know that wasn't necessarily an answer here, but if I'm Golden State, I'm concerned. And my reason for concern is not Steph Curry being out, although I do have thoughts on it with him having gotten injured more these last couple of years. I think that that's something that Golden State needs to take into consideration in his recovery. Maybe let him rest a little bit longer than you think, because he is more important to you in the playoffs than he is in the regular season. But the reason for me to really be concerned in Golden State is a guy named DeMarcus Cousins. And people, raise an eyebrow when I say that. DeMarcus Cousins, his entire career, every team that he's ever played on, there has been some sort of drama there. The Rajon Rondo, when he played with him in New Orleans, there was some drama there. Rajon Rondo is a guy that's had a little bit of drama everywhere he's gone in his career. But I wasn't surprised with what happened in Sacramento, what happened in New Orleans, and now a team feuding with itself in Golden State. And you look at those three teams that should be good, and what happens when DeMarcus Cousins gets thrown into the mix, things start getting out of whack. And I think that, and I'm not saying specifically because he hasn't played, his locker room presence and maybe what he chooses to talk about with his teammates could be an issue there. And I think that that's something to keep an eye on, watching the players interact with each other, and watch DeMarcus Cousins as he plays a role in this whole thing. Yeah, he's only there on a 1-year contract, I believe it is. But I just am saying that with a guy named DeMarcus Cousins on your team, with the amount of drama that has followed him throughout his entire career, this is kind of a hey, maybe thought. But I'm not surprised to see that there's drama going on in a team that involves DeMarcus Cousins, and I think a lot of you might agree with that.
Katie, let's go to you, and then we'll get to Butcher Dave for a topic. Katie, your thoughts on your own topic?
Good point. Obviously, I kind of agree with a little bit of all of you. No panic, but concern, like what EJ said. Golden State Warriors, I'm not really concerned about fully. Just, they went off with they just picked up 2 wins, but then they had that 4-game losing streak in a row.
Love it. Wow.
But obviously, this roster, they could probably scrape, say, an 8th seed. Say that were to happen. We probably don't think that's going to happen, but then they'll still manage to get like a 16-0 in the playoffs. So we know that they're going to be dominant. But I guess my one concern would be Steph Curry, because his absence is a factor for them. Not just offense. I mean, defensively, offensively. I mean, you guys all know how that goes. So I'm not going to get really into that. But for Boston, I think we all had with the starting 5, we all thought it was going to go a lot better. But it's been a bit of a disaster. They're starting out with a minus 4.5 net rating, and the Celtics aren't really in a class of their own in the East right now. As you guys all know, the Raptors are dominating. I mean, yeah, we kind of saw that coming about, but we figured Celtics would be right there on top with them. And right now, like you said, they're 10-10. They're 500. We're not really impressed with that. So a bit concerned there. And I guess Boston just doesn't have the same luxury talent as the Warriors, and to assume that things will be working out.
Butch, let's go to you next for the topic. We might have time for one, possibly two more. Butch, what would you like to bring up on tonight's roundtable? Dave, I'll give you first crack.
Well, let's go another way here. I'll bring out some wild and wicked stuff here. But if you have noticed here, the major networks, and I talked about the major networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, and also Fox, are now getting a lot more better when it comes down to primetime sports here. Fox has the NFL primetime now here. NBC will be doing some things primetime because ESPN has just announced that ABC will now be doing their draft, okay, from beginning to end, and ESPN will be the simulcast of the draft there. Just getting your thoughts, everybody, on how the major networks, once upon a time, and maybe some of you are baby boomers or like me, of course, and millenniums, such as you guys there, may not, notice how major sports was with the regular networks versus now with cable going on. Many people miss it. It's now the case. And I also mentioned that Fox in 2019 will have SmackDown on this roster there at prime time. That is something big here, boys and girls here. So get your thoughts on that.
Great topic, Butch. I will go to Dave first. Canada obviously doesn't have as many major networks. You have CBC, CTV, and then you have Sportsnet, TSN. But go to Butch's topic there. More and more sports going on regular network programming.
Yeah, there is. You can even go to Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario for the Shaw TV, for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds right now.
Yeah.
And they're getting a lot of the national viewers going online to look at Shaw TV and subscribing just to watch the Hounds play Kitchener Rangers or the Ottawa 67s or something of such. And you got the Hockey Night in Canada, that's even rewind to that. That famous classic theme of Hockey Night in Canada is now not owned by Hockey Night in Canada. Yeah. It is TSN that's owned it for the last handful plus years, if not more. I don't know the exact date on that. As I would say on my show, maybe producer Ghost can get us that information on that. But, it's things are changing in the media world, and that's just how it is. TSN, every Wednesday night hockey on TSN has a Hockey Night in Canada's theme. Now Hockey Night in Canada has a new theme that was selected from a boy out east in Canada somewhere. I can't remember exactly. Someone made up that theme, and now you got Sportsnet gets all the NHL games for the majority of the games, and it's Rogers that is the main media outlet for the National Hockey League. You look at the NHL Game Center app, it says right at the bottom, powered by Rogers Media. I know Rogers Media has partnered with Verizon in the States, I believe. I know Butch may correct me on that, but as far as I understand, it's the media conglomerate is definitely altered. When I was younger, it was TSN was the main headquarters for hockey, was the main headquarters for all sports. The CBC will never be defeated, though. It's every Saturday night, CBC's Hockey Night in Canada, or, they don't have basketball on Saturdays there for CBC, but TSN has all the Raptors games. Where on before Sportsnet, or it was actually the Score, is what used to do the Raptors games. And the Score was Channel 15, and before the Score was Headline Sports. And the Headline Sports, everything has altered in terms of the media and these different agreements. But one thing I will say, when it comes to the United States and Canada, there's a significant difference when it comes to the media outlets. We have our prime ones. We know which ones we're watching our Saturday night hockey. I said it, CBC. We're watching our Wednesday night hockey. It's TSN. But when we're watching every other night of hockey, it's Sportsnet. When you're watching football, it's CTV, Canadian Television Network. So that's what goes with that. And when you have soccer, CTV does that. CTV and CBC are the main media conglomerates in Canada. Hockey, it's Sportsnet, TSN for its entirety. But nothing has really changed in terms of the major players in media, and that's CTV and CBC. And that's all really I can provide at this topic.
And I'll talk more about the American. And Butch and I are more probably from the same generation maybe than you, EJ, and Katie. But, growing up watching sports, you had CBS would show couple football games, and you had NBC show a couple football games during the day. You had Monday Night Football on ABC, and that was pretty much it. Then, of course, you have the ESPNs of the world, and they didn't have a lot of professional sports really until the 1990s when they started playing some NHL, and then later on they'd get some NFL football. Then you'd had the more regional, the Fox Sports Detroit. Before that, Butch, I'm sure, can remember Pass in the United States, in the Metro Detroit area. You had Channel 50 that would show some Pistons games and some Red Wings games. And now you have the major networks just starting to show a lot more of all the games. Butch mentioned the NFL draft going to ABC. That's huge news. That's something that has not happened at all. And you look at Fox, the network Fox, getting all these games, Thursday night football, not just on the NFL network anymore. It's, now it's on CBS. Now it's on all the major networks. So they're taking a piece of the pie, and they're getting rewarded by getting good ratings. I mean, you look at some of these football games that have been shown on Thursday night, they get huge ratings. Even some of the not-so-good matchups get some big ratings. So it's a big trend as far as sports. And Butch mentioned, SmackDown. I mean, many people, there are a lot of wrestling fans out there, including a couple people on this show, and to get a major network, not the UPNs, the USAs even, but, Fox, the major Fox network, to cover that's a big deal as far as broadcasting.
See, it's actually it's Sportsnet that covers it as the partner in WWE for Canada. I don't know if it is the same way in the States. Is there a partner in the States that does the WWE, or is it just the Sportsnet in Canada that does it?
I mean, USA Network does the WWE in here. So, EJ, we'll go to you next as far as Butch's topic. What say you, sir?
Well, I think that what's important to talk about what these networks have in common. ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox. What do they all share in common? And that is that they air football. And they always have played football. ABC with Monday Night Football. CBS with the beginning of the NFL. NBC covering big games. One of the Fox Sports really doing a great job with football and baseball in the last couple of years. But the driving factor between all of them is football. And I think it is very smart for ABC to get involved in the draft. ABC, ESPN, all part of kind of that Disney umbrella. People often forget that. So it's a very much, to me, a no-brainer that ESPN is going to air the draft on ABC. I don't know if they'll cover all 4 rounds or if they'll do it somewhat like how they'll cover the Masters, where they get the first couple of days. Maybe they'll get day 1 and day 2 on the draft on primetime ABC. The last couple of rounds aren't really worth watching on primetime television. So I expect the first round at least to be on ABC. But I think that it's a no-brainer for these leagues to continue to pick up as much sports programming as possible. NFL is one of the driving forces in advertising and marketing in our world today. Even on social media, we are talking about football all the time. And regardless of what market you're in, understandably in Canada, hockey being the driving factor. But again, TSN, doesn't that somewhat fall under the ESPN umbrella? I mean, there we are again, just picking up more steam. So I'm not surprised to see that these networks are picking up more games, particularly as far as the NFL goes. But I am happy to see that this country that we live in right now is still wanting to watch good, clean competition between two athletic teams, showing us what the human body is capable of. I love sports. I love everything about it. Chemistry, the physical greatness that you get opportunities to see, and just these magical moments. So happy to see the networks continuing to get their hands in the pockets of these sports organizations and sports leagues, because you know what? People want to see it. And at the end of the day, sports are one of the driving factors behind all of these organizations' success.
Good stuff, EJ. Butch, we'll go to you for your thoughts on your topic, and then we'll have time for Dave McCaig and one more topic tonight on the roundtable.
Well, let me give you a little bit more history before we go into it. I get on my clothes here. Really, yeah. Monday Night Baseball. Everybody remember that there on regular TV? How about those fights here? Muhammad Ali and some other fighters going on national television and whatnot there. How about that there? Yep. Not only golf, per se there, but again, how about Billie Jean King and the male person that she just ruined to a no not one there going on prime time. That was on ABC. Can't put down Canada, okay? Here's the deal on that there. I love City TV. And Dave, you can't do nothing about it. They have all the good stuff. And Global TV. A lot of people don't know about Global TV if you don't live in Canada. But here's the deal on Global TV. They were one of the first stations that gave you a half an hour of sports every night. every night on Global TV when they were located. Their main headquarters was in Hamilton. Now they're in Toronto as their main headquarters, but did that. From that gives you the sports centers and all the other sports shows that you see. Global TV, tip their hat off to Global because they're the ones who gave you more than 5 minutes of sports there. Global TV every night gave you a half an hour of some great sports news that you couldn't get enough of, and by golly, that we're better for that there. I think it's great now that the major networks are getting back to the basics because I think a lot of people now are telling the cable networks and whatnot in some words that I cannot explain on radio, okay? And because of the cost. And these stations know that if they put quality programming on their network, they're going to get more people to buy toilet paper and whatnot here, you know? So with that all saying there, I think it's a good move that the national networks are now getting a lot more interest in bringing sports to prime time. And again, hopefully we get to see more good programming on the primetime networks.
Great topic. Butch and Dave McCaig, we have time for one more topic before we get to our thumbs up and thumbs down for the week. So, Kegger, we'll give you the topic. Katie or EJ, we'll give you first crack at Dave's topic. So what would you like to bring up on tonight's roundtable?
Where do you think I'm going, Scotty?
NHL.
NHL.
And Katie's going to probably take a pass
even though last week I brought up an interesting topic in terms of leadership in sports, I'm going to go back to the NHL. I'm going to go back to the usual Dave because NHL is a bunch of sexy going on, and the reason why I say sexy, Scott, I know it's a term that we only use in certain ways if it's a good topic to bring up. A lot of things are heating up in the National Hockey League. You know, the season's still almost the quarter point. And
Coach is fired.
We have somebody who joined and I saved it for this special point, who has joined our panel in Soo, Ontario. People would know him, Butch know him. Craig Hartsburg will be on the Game Sports show in terms of Soo, Ontario, Canada. So he'll be doing power ranking uploads, and we're going to be talking about who we think around the table are the top 5 teams in the National Hockey League, and a little bit of, what I mean by top 5 is power rankings in your eyes. And a little bit of news around the Hockey League. Apparently, William Nylander is going to be signing a 6-year, $6.9 million contract. That's a rumor out of the Toronto Sun, not verified yet. So I'm pretty upset about that because we need defense in Toronto. Okay, we're like the Pittsburgh Steelers, all offense, no defense. And at the end of the day, it's the National Hockey League is very exciting. A lot of surprising teams. The Buffalo Sabres, to name a few, are doing extremely well. And the NHL is doing better than ever in terms of income. Good friend of the show, Brett Perlini, his brother Brendan, got traded to the Chicago Blackhawks along with Dylan Strome for Nick Schmaltz. I'm hoping to have Brand on the show within the next couple weeks as well with his brother Brett. So a lot of exciting news around hockey. So let's go there, Scotty.
All right, EJ, we'll give you first topic on Dave's topic. First crack. Why do you keep saying first topic on Dave's topic? Jeez.
I like that.
Get it together, Scott. EJ, your thoughts on Dave's topic, sir?
Well, I know you guys are at the Wicked Sister. Scotty, are you okay? Have you had one too many beverages?
Nope. I'm a designated driver tonight, so just a little hoarse tonight. Little hoarse. Driver. Thank you.
Well, hey, man, I got to check on you. I got to make sure my employees are good. But, yeah, as far as the NHL goes, I think the Blackhawks really did a good job in that trade in adding to their lineup, having replaced their head coach this year. So I think that the Blackhawks are definitely in a better position today than they were. But I think to me, as far as the NHL goes, Buffalo Sabres, look at them sitting up at top right behind Tampa Bay above Toronto at 16-6-2, 34 points already this year. I mean, wow, they're just looking surprisingly good. And I don't think that when you were talking at the top of the Eastern Conference this year, that Buffalo was going to be a team that you'd be discussing. Columbus Blue Jackets, Washington Capitals holding it down in the Metropolitan Division, but Pittsburgh 9-8-5. What's going on there in Pittsburgh? I think that something needs to be talked about there because that team, with as much talent as they have and the moves that they've made, they need to find ways to put wins up on the board fast. But to me, the story in the Western Conference, I think it's the San Jose Sharks. I think that they have to be the team that I'm most interested in the West, especially with the additions that they made to their team, especially with Karlsson. And boy, are they looking good. Unfortunately, the other night, taking a 6-0 loss to the Las Vegas Golden Knights. That was something that, that was the team that was it for me. Vegas still having another decent year, roughly 500 right now. But the San Jose Sharks, to me, are the team outside of the Blue Jackets and Pittsburgh. As you guys know, those are two of my favorite teams. The San Jose Sharks are a team that I'm going to continue to keep my eyes on. But Buffalo Sabres just got my attention.
Yeah, absolutely. EJ, I'll go next, and then Butch. Dave says top 5 teams. I definitely would put Tampa and Nashville as 1 and 2, and you can pick which one is 1 and which one is 2. Tampa right now, 35 points, top of the East. And you look at Nashville, 35 points, top of the West. As far as, the next group of teams, I still put Toronto up there, although Buffalo is ahead of them in the standings. I think Toronto is a very good team there, so I put them in the top 5. Minnesota, Colorado, maybe one of those teams. I'm big on Colorado still. And then you have Winnipeg. I almost might put all those teams in the Central right now. Nashville, Minnesota, Colorado, Winnipeg. I think those are all very, very good teams. Winnipeg and Nashville, probably the 2 favorites, but Minnesota and Colorado kind of like quietly going about their business. The problem is that they'll all face each other early in the playoffs. And then you can't overlook what's going on out west. Maybe some of the records aren't as good as you look at the West right now. 2 teams are above 500 in the Pacific. All the rest of them are 500 or below 500, including Arizona, who's quieted down. So those are my top 5 teams right now. Butch, I'll go to you for your thoughts on the NHL and Dave's topic.
Oh, boy. You always put me in a pickle here. Well, I love the pickle.
You too.
Okay. My top 5 teams in the NHL there, it would definitely have to be Tampa Bay. Okay, right now you can't get away from that there. Buffalo is doing one heck of a job there, and I look at them along with Toronto will be number 3. Number 4 team in my category will be Nashville there. And how long they're going to keep this going in Nashville, I have no idea under the sun there. But again, I think Winnipeg will come out there smoking after the first of the year, and they'll be my 5th doggone team that I kind of look up to there as far as making some ground here. Those are my 5 picks here. I don't know. I just heard you guys are there, but those are my 5 picks.
Dave, I have to get to you for your topic. Jeez, I almost skipped to the thumbs up and thumbs down. This cold sore in my mouth is killing me tonight, so if I seem off, I have a bad cold sore in my tongue. Terrible thing.
Been there a couple weeks ago. I had to take medication for it.
Yeah,
actually.
man, it's killing me tonight. Dave McCaig, your thoughts on your own topic before we go to Katie and our thumbs up and thumbs down for the week.
Butch, this is you and I'll say this quickly.
You guys are on the same level tonight.
We've been on the same level a lot. I know when we first started the show, you hated my guts. I think we don't say hate much.
Tough love. It was part of getting into the industry.
And yes,
it was like a hazing, if you will.
4 years ago, I remember we had some tough go. It reminded me of a lot of EJ and you when EJ first started.
Again,
totally
tough love,
hazing. But Butch, I love you. You know that. And EJ, I love you too. And Scotty, kind of. But just kidding. Going to the power rankings here, Butch, my whole point of saying that is that you basically took everything out of my mouth. Except I got a little bit of reorganizing. Just a little bit. Okay, Tampa Bay is still foregone top, in my opinion. I've said this at the beginning of the year. Tampa Bay is a team to beat in the Eastern Conference. Okay. Secondly, I do got to go Nashville. A lot of Leaf fans out there wanting to say, Dave, you're a Leaf fan. Why aren't you saying I'm a realistic Leaf fan, okay? I've been through a lot of the crap. So I'm going to say Nashville second, but very close between Tampa Bay and Nashville. I really like Nashville's defensive core, but I'd be lying if I didn't like Tampa's either. But Tampa Bay is doing this right now without Andre Vasilevsky was still maintaining success. If they had Andre Vasilevsky there, this team wouldn't have 6 losses. It'd probably have 4, okay, which means they have 19 wins, and they'd be pulling away right now in the Eastern Conference. So those are my 1, 2 there. Thirdly, yes, I couldn't agree with Butch more. Toronto in third. Toronto, when they get Matthews back, and if it's Nylander coming back, or if they do trade him for defense, whatever it may be, but if it's Nylander, that offense is the best offense I've seen in hockey in the last decade. I'm sorry that when you have a top 6 forward lines containing of Marner, Tavares, Matthews, Nylander, you got Marlowe up there and Kasperi Kapanen, who's absolutely lighting the lamp. There's no other better offense up there, so I got to give them 3. 4, I'm going to go the route and give credit here to, I can't believe I'm going this route, but the Buffalo
Golden
Sabres.
State. Oh, Buffalo. Okay.
Well, Golden State Warriors. Yeah, no, Buffalo Sabres. I'm putting them below Toronto. Maintain of these 2 facts. 1, bias, and 2, because the Buffalo Sabres are still kind of at that point where the honeymoon stage of the season, I think. If they maintain the success going into the 44-game, 50-game, and then I'll say they're ahead of Toronto in the power rankings. I still think Buffalo's going to hit a point where they're going to backtrack a little, but this team, Buffalo, will be a playoff team. And I did not say that at the beginning of the year, and I would hope Boston doesn't make it, but let's be real, they probably will. And the 5th seed in terms of the power rankings is no, I'm not going Boston, I'm not going Washington. I'm going to go a route of the Colorado Avalanche. I want to go Colorado.
That's what I've been saying.
Even
what
Minnesota,
have I been saying?
And watch out for Vegas, though. They're starting to come a little bit hot now. They're starting at 500 now. They weren't a couple weeks ago. But Colorado, they got one of the best lines in hockey. They got one of the best players in Nathan McKinnon. Goaltending is still a little bit meh. They got Grubauer and Valimov there. I still believe in that tandem still. And that decor is still meh because they're young. But that offense is so strong. And if you, strong offense and a mad defense, it doesn't that sound a lot like Toronto a little bit? So, Colorado's had a great year. They've had a great couple years, actually. And I got to give credit, though, notable to Winnipeg Jets. The Winnipeg Jets are still a very talented hockey team and are going to make a deep run in the playoffs.
Very good. Let's get to our thumbs up and thumbs down for the week. We'll start with you, Katie, and then we'll go to EJ, Butch, myself, and Dave. So, Katie, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week.
This thumbs up actually involves us, Scott. So my thumbs up for the week is Mr. Scotty, and I will be broadcasting tomorrow night's Brimley Bay's boys basketball game opener against Cedarville.
That's right, tomorrow night.
Yeah,
wow,
tomorrow
high school
night
basketball
November
already.
27th. That's
wow.
crazy. That's a very great matchup, by the way. So tune in around 6:45, 7-ish to Eagle Radio 95.1. Depends on when the JV game gets
Correct.
over.
Usually around 7-ish is good. Or just keep it on.
Yeah.
In general,
yeah,
that's always a good
just
rule.
always keep classic kids going. And it'll just be nice to learn under Scott because, as you guys know, he knows every sports topic, which
well, let's not get carried away
I applaud
here.
him
I
for that
appreciate
because I can only touch on
everywhere,
NBA
he is a
and
Lions
everything,
fan. Okay. That's the only thing I got with you.
So, and Katie is going to get her first crack at play-by-play later on this year, and she's going to do a great job. She's already done color with me, and she's going to get a few games under her wing, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm very...
Sorry, I do that.
I'm looking forward to it because, Scott obviously is great. Obviously, you guys wouldn't be listening to this if it weren't for Scott. So
nice.
Well,
I
thank
agree.
you.
I couldn't
Any
agree
thumbs
more.
down, or is that it? That's all
I
you
do
got.
have a thumbs down.
All right. Packers, we didn't talk about them. 0-6 on the road.
I'm not going to touch. I've put them as my thumbs down before, so I obviously picked the Buckeyes Michigan game, and I know Scott. I really don't care. I'm more so a Michigan State fan, but in a stunning fashion, the Buckeyes obviously beat the Michigan Wolverines.
Beat them down.
62 points, scoring 62 points. And I just wanted to say 62 points being the most points scored against a Jim Harbaugh coached team. So I had to put that.
Sorry,
you don't like Harbaugh.
It makes me so giddy.
You chirp me about Kevin Durant.
I don't hate him. I just love it. EJ Russell, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, and then we'll go to Butch.
Well, I would just like to add an addition to Katie's statistic, which is this is also the most points that these Ohio State Buckeyes have ever put up against the University of Michigan. Go Buckeyes. Glad we took that game. I'm going to take my half moment here to talk a little smack about that. But my thumbs up and thumbs down for the week. Thumbs up, Cleveland and Ohio sports. Man, this was a great weekend. I really enjoyed it. And I'm going to say this. If you would have told me that the Buckeyes were going to score 62 points in that game and beat Michigan, I would have called your bet. You could have taken my money as far as I was concerned. But I'm just surprised that the Buckeyes put up so many points. Cleveland Cavaliers getting 2 quality wins over the weekend. Good for them. And obviously, Cleveland Browns, baby, getting her done and doing a great job putting away a division rival. Thumbs down for the week. I don't know how many of you follow some of the more pettier stories in the NBA, but there's some rumors floating around about Dwight Howard and his personal affairs. And I want to bring a thumbs down to that, and I'm not going to really clarify further what they're talking about there. But the pettiness that goes on in our lives, we have better things to do than worry about private decisions being made by what each other are doing. And that's just something that people don't need to talk about. I mean, I know it's something that interests a lot of people out there, and I think it's low class, and I think that we need to respect athletes for what they do on the court, as long as they're not committing crimes in their private life. Let them enjoy some privacy. So just thumbs down to the pettiness that's going on, revolving around some of that drama-related stuff in some of these sports leagues. I'm not a fan of that right now.
Very good, EJ. Let's go to Butch Davis. Butch, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, sir.
I'm so sorry. I listen to all this. This is crime TV at its finest here. I don't know. Katie with her "I hate you, Michigan" here, and don't leave EJ out here. He put his foot in that doggone thumbs up and thumbs down too here. I really have nothing here really to donate to anyone here. Really, I'm going to go blank this week here. I have nothing. I don't want to dismantle the Lions. I've already did that in truthfulness here. And I don't want to give the hype-up type of feeling for the Red Wings or the Pistons either here, because as soon as we do, they'll go flatten the toilet too here. So I'm going to just let it ride this week here.
I like it, Butch. I have 2 thumbs up. Thumbs up to the Ohio State Buckeyes. I'm sorry. I was decorating the Christmas tree and watching that game, and I'll tell you what, that was a great football game to watch if you are a Michigan State fan that doesn't like Michigan. So I'm throwing a little salt on the wound, but thumbs up to Nick Ward, basketball player for Michigan State. I love this quote he had on Twitter, and this goes to a lot of the folks, and this is kind of a thumbs down to the people that are part of this, the haters out there, if you will. Nick Ward, I like this. No matter what I do, I'm the most hated. And I love it, LOL. I absolutely love it. Internet trolls make my day, and I'm happy that I'm on your mind 24/7, and you can't worry about your own life. A 21-year-old college basketball player trying to live his dream is on your mind. Sad. I like that. I think that's fantastic because there's a lot of people out there. I was at my son's 7th grade basketball game just before this broadcast, and the Sioux High Blue Devils lost to Petoskey. They were still fighting hard in the 4th quarter, and there were a few fans sitting behind me, probably classmates, that were chirping the Sioux High players as far as, you guys this, you guys that. And, obviously I can't say anything to a 13-year-old kid, but that kind of goes to all the haters out there that are looking from the sidelines, trying to pick apart everyone else's life when you don't really know what that individual is going for. Worry about yourself. Support those on the court. Way to go, Nick Ward. Way to go. Dave McCaig, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, sir.
Wow, Scott.
You like that?
Why do you got me topping you after that? Like, don't get me wrong, but I'm going to say one of my weakest facets is either college football or my thumbs up and thumbs down, because I always got a repeated thumbs up and thumbs down, it seems like. But, I want to go thumbs up this week. I'm going to go to the Sioux Thunderbirds. I want to give some local credit there to the Sioux Thunderbirds after some success this past week. I feel like I haven't given them enough credit on this show, respectively, for their success. So the Sioux Thunderbirds of the NOJHL having a couple-game winning streak there. They're 4 games in hand. They're leading the way in the Western Division.
Yep.
Sorry, I always get that mixed up. They're leading that way there, so I got to give them a thumbs up. And second thumbs up to the Dinos. Katie knows what I'm talking about.
17-4.
Loving the Dinos right now. I'm not going Toronto as they're having a good game against Boston currently, so I can't give them a thumbs up for right now. But the Dinos in Toronto looking absolutely great. And I got one more thumbs up. Josh Donaldson going over to the Atlanta Braves with a 1-year, $23 million contract. Well-deserved. Him, McCann going there, second chance. I love Josh Donaldson. Big fan. He re-aggravated baseball in Toronto, so he deserves that contract. When it comes to thumbs down for the week, Golden State's giving Green, was it 2 weeks? Is it 2 weeks with Draymond Green?
I think so, yeah.
2 weeks. Why not give him 4? I don't like Golden State losing. Let's give him another 4. Let's give Durant a year. Let's get rid of Durant. Let's trade everyone. Golden State. Thumbs down. Let's lose this dynasty here. Come on. I really got no thumbs down besides that, though. All positives.
Very good. Let's go around the horn here. Katie, of course, as you mentioned, we'll have our Brimley Bay's first basketball broadcast tomorrow night on Eagle 95.1. How are things elsewhere as far as the Eagle, sales, and just in general?
Well, I mean, nothing new other than I don't know if anyone out there is a hunter, but I just shot a 9 point. So that's the only
9
thing
point! That's fantastic.
Yeah!
That's big news.
I mean, especially around here in the UP, I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So, and Canada, too, but Mr. Dave McCaig doesn't hunt, which I was kind of disappointed in.
And over there, it's what it's all about, by the way.
Yeah.
In the bush, which I still don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know, EJ. I thought you were a hunter. Maybe.
He is.
Yeah.
He's a fisher.
Well,
EJ's a fisher.
Well, let's go to EJ Russell next.
Sorry, I'm speaking for him.
There you are. EJ, what's up in your world? Any deer hunting stories, and what's on tap for you this week?
And this will surprise a lot of you. First off, congratulations, Katie. That's awesome. Good for you. But for me, I'm not a hunter. The only hunting, the closest I've ever been to hunting is watching Escanaba in the moonlight.
Ow, nice.
That's about the closest I've been to hunting. But I'm not anti-hunt. I would hunt if I had the gear. But growing up where I did, hunting wasn't a big thing. But I enjoy the outdoors, Dave. You nailed it. I'm a fish guy. I'm a fisher. That's what I do. Anybody ever want to go fishing, come on over this way. There's great stuff. Bring your kayak. I got one. We'll have a good time. But happy to be here as always. You guys rock. And I'll throw this one out there one more time for all my local friends. OHIO! Woo!
I love it. Butch Davis, I can hear that all day right now. Butch Davis, what's on tap for you this week, sir?
Do it again, EJ.
One more time, EJ.
Do it again.
OHIO!
Beautiful.
Whee!
Butch, what's on tap for you, sir?
I don't know now.
We're having too much fun, baby.
We are having too much.
Going from here, huh? Well, let's say, Katie's getting her first broadcasting jump with you guys, Scott here, man. And you guys don't know, I'll be up there next month. I'll be there before Christmas here.
All right, Butch, what are we having to drink, my man? I'm waiting for it.
Everything that we can burn down here, okay?
We need to put a gun in Butch's hand, get him a deer.
Yeah, and the hockey game that I'll probably be helping Scott do something. I don't know here. But hey, listen to me whenever I get up there. Let me tell you, this week is probably absolutely just getting together for how we're going to deal with the holidays and some of these professional teams. I know nothing's going to be coming good at the Lions camp here. I would love to take off of work for my other job and go down there and listen to it, but I won't. Okay? I just won't. High school football is gone, but then we can get ready for basketball. I'm kind of quite geeked up with some of the rosters are going to be coming in. And I'll be taking some tours around some high schools there and get some laughs, and also getting to know some of the coaches.
Dave, let's go to you. As far as your shows this week over in Sioux, Ontario, what you got going, sir?
Sioux, Ontario is always busy for the Game Sports Show, but it's a good thing because the listeners love it, and we all love what we're doing here and providing to the Twin Sioux only local, regional, and national sports show. So what do we got on tap? Well, this week with the Wednesday edition of the Game Sports Show at Sports Center, we do plan to be there at 9, but I will mention Dustin, Matt, and Jamie are away at OFSA right now for the Core Colts senior team. Is playing the St. Pete's Ottawa team there. So we're going to have a little phone interview. We're not too sure how the audition's going to go because Dane and Justin are unsure if they're able to sub in for Jamie, Matt, and Dustin. So we don't know for sure yet. So it'll be a little surprise uploaded for at Sports Center. We will be at Northern Superior Brewing Company on Thursday at 6 p.m. myself, Dane, and Justin. And then I will be assisting with Scott with some Eagles broadcasts and all that, but we do plan to do a special edition upload with the Icebreakers Sports Bar and Grill powered by the Northern Spirit Brewing Company for the Thunderbirds home game this weekend as well, covered by myself and Brad Cochimilio there as well. So make sure to keep an eye on that. And also Craig Hartsburg will be doing an upload this week for his Power Rankings, making his debut as a staff member at the Game Sports Show. Former NHL coach, former
Greyhounds
player,
retired number up there.
Greyhounds retired number, and also World Junior Gold medalist for Team Canada as well. So glad to have him kind of jump in and help out when he can, sort of thing. So action-packed week. Main thing is for a Wednesday show, keep an eye on our uploads to see how we do it. But we plan to bring you something of the sorts of excitement as always from the Canada side of the Game Sports Show.
Absolutely. You can catch all those shows and this one and Butch's show on thegamesportshow.com. Want to thank Dave, Katie, Butch, and EJ, and all our guests, including Doug Laprade, Dionne Parker, and broadcast engineer Dallas Miller. That's going to do it here from the Wicked Sister. We'll talk to you next Monday night for another edition of the game here on Eagle 95.1.
Peace.
See ya.